Hey there, listeners. Welcome to another episode of our station Who. Got some news for you folks. We have new Doctor Who!
Yay!
We got new Doctor Who! Kermit Flair! Oh, I almost knocked my glasses off. I was so excited for that. You know, it is awesome to say, hey, we got new Doctor Who to talk about, and not just one episode tonight. We've got two that we're going to be reviewing. We're not going to tie them in together, though. We're going to do them like we're doing two separate episodes, but you're getting a double episode, folks, so basically. So we have a great crew here to, talk all about it tonight. Let's say hi to our regulars, of course. Mr. Mike Gordon is here.
Howdy.
And Mary Ogle.
Yay! Hi, everybody. It is fantastic to be here. No!
And we got some great guests with us, of course. Returning from the rat hole himself, Dave Chapman.
Hey. Glad to be back.
And we have a married couple. That's right. Not just any married couple. We have the Sweatmans. Let's welcome back Matt and Elaine. Hi, guys.
Hey, how are you?
Is this actually the first time we've had you both on at the same time?
We were on a Earth Station or ESO podcast put together, but not an Earth Station Who one, no.
Okay, well, this is a first then, it's a good thing. And, we've had you both on separately for different reviews. So this is cool because I was like, who do I want for the first episode? And it's like, you three were first on my mind. So it's always perfect with that. So it's a good thing. Other than Mike and Mary. Mike and Mary's just a given, that's, it's always
you
good.
just take us for granted.
We're just taking
of
for
course.
granted.
Of course, folks. And always remember, there's a little twist at the end. So, it's always good. So that's a good thing. I'm winking at the camera. So, it's a good thing. But yes, we definitely also couldn't do this without you guys at home. So thank you for watching and thank you for listening. Earth Station Who is grateful for you guys. And if you want to leave feedback, because we know some of you have a lot to say about this stuff, feedback at Earth Station Who is the best way to get in touch with us, or join our Facebook group. We've got a great Facebook group up there, folks. We have, when we put out a call, who wants to be, on these reviews, for these new stories, I couldn't believe the turnout we had. People we haven't heard from in years were like coming, hey, we want to talk on the show. We got it. So within like 30 minutes, I had the whole season already filled with people. So, you're going to see some surprises, folks, with people who are returning, some people who are newbies. It's going to be a great, great time to do this. And I am just thrilled to have Doctor Who back. And it's, I think we need to jump in with the first review. And of course, that is Space Babies by Stephen Moffat. No, just kidding. By Russell T. Davies. God, can you imagine if Moffat wrote that? We'd be scared of babies from now on. So let's go around. Initial thoughts on Space Babies. Let's start with Mary.
Middle of the road for me. I mean, It was watchable. I was entertained. I thought the parts about the snot monster were stupid, but very RTD in, his sort of farting alien phase. So not surprising. Shooty and Millie have absolute awesome chemistry. I mean,
yes,
even though I think the script was kind of marginal on that one, but oh my God, Shooty and Millie together just really saved it for me. So overall, it was enjoyable for what it was. Not sure it was the greatest kickoff to a Doctor. It was no 11th hour, that's for sure.
Well,
but it was enjoyable.
I don't even consider this a kickoff because I consider the Christmas special the kickoff.
I mean, yeah, you could argue that, but
but for the opening of a season with the new Doctor, I could understand that. Oh, and this is my one bitch for right now: Disney Plus. The Christmas special should stand on its own. It shouldn't be listed as episode 1.
Yeah,
Space Babies
should be.
Yes, I know.
Damn you, Disney! it did throw me off because when I went to go watch the new season, I started with episode 1. I'm like, I've already seen this. I think
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was
It's
live
really
when I
familiar,
did
and
I was like,
that. Disney, we're old. Don't confuse us.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was in a live watch party and went, what?
Exactly. I think most. Okay, Dave, what about you?
Similar to what Mary thought. I think I would give it a little bit higher than middle of the road, but it had its problems. Kind of felt like there was almost going to be 2 episodes there. With the whole butterfly effect thing, like that came and went really fast. And I think they could have done an entire episode there.
Oh, of course. It would have been kind of cool having, Ruby in her moth form or whatever that thing that she became was.
I think that was a more interesting premise than space babies.
No, I agree with that.
But overall,
Right.
I mean, I didn't mind the things that people otherwise consider stupid. Whatever.
It was bad CGI for the baby's mouths, but it was
Better than we would have gotten before.
I still wanted to grab every one of those babies and hug each one of them. It's okay. It's okay. Matt, what about you? You look like you're chomping at the bit right there.
I felt like we were watching a 46-minute episode E-Tray baby commercial.
Oh, very true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, the CG was very much on that level. But no, Shooty and Ruby Sunday. I saw
Ruby
Tuesday. I swore I wasn't going to do that. Their interactions were great, and like Mary said, that's really saved the episode for me. I think I think they're amazing together. Their energy level is off the chart. I think they just electrify the screen when they're on there, and the bit in the beginning, the bit in the ending, I enjoyed. The story in between, well, I think it left a lot to be desired.
Okay, that's fair. Do you think it was maybe the story was going out more for a younger audience or newbies to the show?
I think so. I think there was a deliberate attempt to be friendly to a new audience, and that's very much a good thing. I do feel like it was an odd choice to begin the season in a sense that the story arcs really began in the specials last year, especially the giggle and the church on Ruby Road. If I got that wrong, I don't know. But
no, you got it.
Yeah,
you didn't call it the church on Ruby Sunday.
No, or Ruby Tuesday. But no, I think I think it was kind of a skippable episode, oddly enough. But it definitely did a good job of setting up their interactions, their behavior towards one another, and their energy level. And for that reason alone, I enjoyed it.
Awesome. All right. Let's look at your better half. Elaine, what's your thoughts?
I enjoyed it, but it does not take much to amuse me. So there's that. It was kind of a simple episode. I mean, there was a snot monster and they were saved by farts and poopy diapers. And so there was that silliness about it, but there was serious stuff in there. You just had to wait for those little pockets. But I do think the Shooty and Millie are fantastic together, and I'm looking forward to seeing way much more of them.
What did you think of the nanny character?
I liked her, but she's a really good actress. And I'm trying to remember what else I've seen her in besides Bridgerton.
Right, I remember her from Bridgerton. It's like, wait a minute, I've seen her. Oh yeah, Netflix.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting. I thought it was neat to see, her character, because I was waiting for her to turn evil or something, but she never did, and I was waiting for the other shoe to drop with it. And so I found that kind of interesting. But I enjoyed it. Mr. Mike, what are your thoughts? Initials.
I enjoyed it overall. I mean, Russell T, man, he's back, and he's he's the most Russell T he's ever been, right? Like, so all those people that were like, "Yay, Russell T's back!" all of a sudden they're like,
whoa, this is a little too much Russell T. But uh, that's I love the fact that he's just embracing it. I like the I mean, I think it's interesting that typical as Russell T does, he starts off the season with him, the Doctor and the companion in space. There's a lot of stuff that's like kind of like at the end of the world in this. Some stuff from New Earth that's kind of like this in this too. Even a little bit of Smith and Jones. I felt like they kind of like this is like on par with those first episodes introducing, a doctor with a new companion,
Mhm.
and or a new companion or a companion with a new doctor in the case of New Earth. So I felt like this is they kind of go first. They go first in the future in the space, and then the next episode they go back in time, and it seems like this is what Russell T does. So it felt very comfortable for me from that. I thought after the first 5 or 6 minutes that the space babies themselves were going to be really annoying, but it was weird because I just sort of got used to them and I actually really kind of dug it. I thought it was kind of an interesting idea, played out. And, overall, I thought there was some really great moments between the Doctor and Ruby. Some scenes where they were talking with each other that I was like, wow, this is really, really amazing, that they're stopping for these really great character moments. And just watching, I'm glad we didn't get thrown into something too complicated, um,
Too
yeah,
quickly.
people have said simple, and I think that's the key here. You want to start off with a simple premise to have our to get to know the couple that we're going to be that we're going to be with all season, and the way they interact each other, and the way that this doctor responds to things, and how it's so different. And we'll talk about that. I want to talk about that a little bit later, but how different Ncuti is from almost every other doctor we've experienced. I mean, it's just incredible what he brings to this franchise. And I mean, in that way, I think this was a pretty decent introduction.
It was interesting with that because I agree with what you said. It was a light episode overall and everything. And me being the cynic in my head, I was waiting for it to turn dark or something. I was waiting for the babies to be eaten, getting, they're being sacrificed to the boogeyman in
Yeah.
or
No,
something.
no babies were
Or
harmed.
no babies were
Yes.
harmed in this, which is interesting. But it was also, I was fully waiting for some kind of dark moment and everything. Instead, we didn't get farting aliens. We got farting spaceships, so it was pretty awesome. And, it's like the whole thing with the methane, propelling the space station. And that still would have taken months or more to get from one planet to another in any solar system. But as we like to say, because Doctor Who, type thing. So,
Oh, yeah. I don't think you can nitpick the science, or you can, but you'd be doing it for hours because,
mhm.
Yeah,
yeah, none of
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
even remotely realistic.
No,
yeah. I
it's
mean,
Doctor
Doctor
Who,
Who's always
folks.
been
Come
more
on.
science fantasy than science fiction. Like it's
Yeah,
not. I mean,
exactly.
it's been, and especially under the RTD era. I mean, and especially this particular run that we've seen. I mean, because this is, uh, I mean, he's made it clear with all the episodes that we've seen so far. This is more about magic and fantasy than it is about hard science and
Oh,
and and
very
and
much
that kind
so.
of thing. So I think there's a lot to take in there, but it seems to be like that's the tone that that he's going for. And he's also said that publicly and everything that he is making this for all ages. This is not just for old school Doctor Who fans. This is not just for, he likes the idea of families watching this and all together so that everybody can get something out of it and entertaining the kids. And he's bringing his, from when he was the showrunner of Sarah Jane Adventures into this too, which you can really, really see that. But I think it's a little bit more sophisticated than some of those were.
No, very much so. And I could definitely see this being an all ages show. And that's what was was really interested about it, and you got a lot of, a lot of what they called juxtaposition and such. The doctor talking about, oh, I'm the last of the Time Lords. I'm the last one. Gallifrey is gone. The whole thing. And, you're an orphan. I'm an orphan. It's real interesting with that. The one scene I found really fascinating, though, is when the doctor was remembering the scene with, when he was at the church and the snow, and the whoever Ruby's mother is, or delivery person, it might not even be Ruby's mother, we don't know, that the figure turned and pointed at the doctor this time. And it was pretty interesting with that. And then it started snowing in the TARDIS.
Right.
Did you notice her fingernails when she pointed?
No,
I
They were
did.
it was the same red short nails, red paint that picked up the tooth.
oh,
Or at least it looked like it. But
Yes.
that's a pretty bright, that's a bold red
Yes, it
on
is.
there.
Yeah.
Coincidence? I think not.
I mean,
Nothing.
it's not a coincidence. It may be a red herring.
Yeah.
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 Or red fingernails, but
Yes.
it's not
Herring fingernail?
but because Russell doesn't, I don't think he does anything by accident. Even the things
No.
he does on
No.
purpose, if he's going to just mess with us, he'll do he's
Yeah.
purposefully messing with us. But
Absolutely.
but yeah, that's obviously going in. That's going to be our bad wolf, if you will, of the season. Like we're going to have moments of Ruby and what that means of a birth and everything. And yeah, I mean, it does sort of feel like companion, most important again a little bit, but I don't know. This feels a little bit different. It feels more like not as heavy-handed as that has been in the past, I think.
Most important girl in the universe.
Yeah,
No, but once
don't-
again,
please
it's the
don't do that,
companion is there's
RTD.
more to her than what's meeting the eye.
Yeah.
Right.
And-
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I think, we haven't had, and to be fair, I don't think Russell T really did that often. With most of his companions were just like, people that were off the street, sometimes literally, right? But I think, since Moffat's era, the companions have had to have a little bit more backstory, and for better or for worse.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting too, because we got something back from the RTD first era in this episode that we hadn't seen throughout the other showrunners. We got the cell phone that you could call anywhere,
Yes, you can
in
call your
time.
mom.
Call your mom. And it was interesting because you had it with, both Rose and Martha and, and so it was just interesting with that. Did Donna have it? I don't remember if she did or not.
I don't think so,
You
because
don't
I don't
think
Yeah.
so.
I don't think so.
But she didn't really like her mom, so it was okay.
Yeah, she probably was glad to have an excuse not to
Yeah.
call her.
But you never
She probably
you
still
never
doesn't have a cell phone. Like,
Yeah.
you probably never, but you didn't see that you didn't see it in Moffat or Chibnall's era. And so it was just interesting. Very first episode, and we're calling it instead of the sonic screwdriver, it is the sonic universal remote with USB
Yeah.
features.
Mhm, mhm.
So it's,
Well,
and
you
we'll be
were-
referring to it all the way.
You were saying you were waiting for a dark twist.
Yeah.
In this episode, but I think that Ruby sort of tried to go that way when they first showed up in the baby farm, and she's like, "Well, is it food?" And the doctor's like, "Oh, it's not food." And so she tried to go that way, and the doctor's like, "No, no, 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 baby, we're not going that way." So yeah.
Well,
It-
either that or when baby Eric was going with the little wooden sword and he was like going after the boogeyman. And it's like, I'm going to be brave because Ruby told me I should be. And it's like, oh, please don't let this be the sacrifice. Let this be the sacrifice.
I mean, it actually is. It's a whole dark premise, actually, if you consider the fact that these are abandoned babies,
Yeah.
babies
Yeah.
that were abandoned and also left to be born, but then left
Stunted
die.
growth.
alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
left to die.
that was a direct shot shot across the
Oh,
bow at
well,
politics on that one.
obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
even Ruby
very much
says it's
so.
like, yeah, this is not so different from my time.
Yeah.
Like she,
Yeah.
like that is clear. Like RTD's like, yeah, I'm sending a message. I'm sending a message.
Yeah.
That's what I do now. Like this is what Doctor Who is now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As we talked about in the last show. Like we're woke now. We're sending messages.
Oh,
Yeah.
we've been woke, folks. Come on.
Yeah.
It shows that we're caring, loving individuals. Come on. So,
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
on that
support-
note too, I think that's the thing about like the Doctor now, and I think we will get some more darker stories. Russell T is certainly capable of that. But I think he wants to lay the groundwork here and show us that, I mean, this is a Doctor who is openly discusses his past. We've never seen that before. A Doctor that hugs, a Doctor that, like, I mean, almost every previous incarnation of the Doctor would have gone into a room of babies and been like, nope, and then run back into the TARDIS.
instead
This one
of
is
come
picking
here,
him up.
baby.
This one is picking him
Matt
up
Smith
and
would have
hugging
started a
him.
card game with it or something.
This one is picking them up and hugging them and all that. Like it's just like I mean, this Doctor is so different and has not the baggage of any of the other Doctors that we've ever seen. And so it's very uplifting, it's very fun. And yes, it's silly. It's so silly. But I know I see a lot of criticism about this one, and the next episode too, about Doctor Who is too silly now. I just don't think that's a bad thing. I just don't think that's like it's like you want it to be edgy and violent, like that's the line you would like to go down, rather, or dark and foreboding. Like, no, we need positive, silly, fun things in our culture now more than ever, and I'm so glad that this is here to do that.
No, agree completely. Matt, you were going to say something?
No, I was just going to make a comment about if they had wanted to go dark. I think one of the unwritten rules is you can't kill a baby. You can't do that, especially not on a Disney platform. So I think once they had the babies on there, I said, well, they're safe. Whatever happens, I mean, I don't know if the nanny's safe. I don't know, but I do know the babies are safe. They wouldn't.
Well, in the Christmas episode, we did have a villain that they did want to eat the baby. Like that was their goal, to eat a baby. Like so.
Yes.
So it is kind of not out of the realm that the next adventure they go on, they see a bunch of babies and Ruby's like, are they for food? Because she just dealt with
It actually
creatures
makes
that were-
sense from her
Right,
point of
exactly.
view. Yeah.
Again, that type of thing.
I didn't think about that. I did think I was noticing when the Doctor was talking about when he was hanging out at the jukebox and it's like Gallifrey's gone, I'm the last of my kind. It was just very matter of fact, like this is what it is. No woe with me. It is what it is. I'm an orphan, you're an orphan. We're gonna go have fun and
Mhm. And
let's go.
any thoughts
you know.
we had of them walking away from the timeless child? RTD's jumping in with
Yeah.
both feet
He's
in that one.
doubling down.
Oh, big time.
Well,
So it's interesting.
the last time he was the last of the Time Lords, he was very brooded on it. I mean, he was very devastated by it. He was
still
this time-
recovering from the Time War, though.
right.
At that point,
This time he's like, whatever. This is not my personality. I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm here to have a good time. I'm here to have adventures. And so, yeah, I'm the last of the race that I just found out I was adopted into, and that's just what it is. So let's continue.
This is a Doctor who is celebrating his specialness, celebrating other people's specialness. He says he doesn't have a goal or a mantra or a mission per se, but yet so far he seems to be embracing everybody for how special that they are so far. And again, that is such a great quality to have. And I think we've had that element in other Doctors before, other incarnations, but not like this.
right?
Yeah, like that speech that he gave Poppy, Captain Popsicles. He's nicknaming people already too, which I love that he called her Popsicle. Because he did that whole speech you're special, I'm special, because she was so worried that they were wrong, that they grew up wrong. And he's like,
Mhm.
no, there's nothing wrong about you or anybody. So
Mhm.
yeah, he's all about that.
Did they say why the babies didn't, weren't more mature, like body wise and everything? Because if they were 6 years old,
They
they
hand waved
shouldn't
it.
have, they,
Yeah. Did they ever explain it at all?
Not, I mean,
I
I
think
think
there
they,
was like a one line
yeah,
drive
exactly.
by.
There was, yeah, it
Okay.
was one line thing that just, it sort of was just like, don't think about it.
Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey, because Doctor
Exactly.
Yeah,
Who,
yeah. The
got it.
education software went haywire. I don't know,
Yes.
something.
Something, something, something. So,
Yeah.
Although in
yeah,
the
Yeah,
because
I
I
category
don't
was,
know if that
of
means
rumor
that,
mill,
yeah, yeah, so I don't know if that means that they're always going to stay in that, physical form, or if
Well,
they
that
are
would
going
be
to grow up.
dark.
it
yeah,
sounds like we might find out.
I,
I just saw today that one of the babies was seen on set, filming in season 2,
Hmm.
possibly
really,
the finale. Yeah, and it was pretty nebulous. And there's no are they playing the same character, or they were the best baby and we need another baby who would
okay.
now be a toddler.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
exactly. Well,
So
it was just like watching that. I kept on thinking because the talking babies and everything, and all mature, the mature mind wise, but body wise not. I kept on thinking of Interview with a Vampire,
I
and
kept
so,
thinking that too. I
yeah,
was like, that's why I said that could get really dark.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. They didn't see him after dark when they get fangs and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. If they actually like drank blood to survive.
Yeah. What did you guys think of the whole thing, with that the doctor wouldn't kill the boogeyman? That he wouldn't,
Well,
let
that
that
makes
one.
sense, I think, for the
Yeah, I mean
doctor's character. I mean,
that's his
So the
that's
MO.
a that was a baby too. Just because it was a different form, not a humanoid, didn't mean
Right.
that wasn't a
And also it was the
child.
last of its kind,
Or
kind
the
of
only
it was
one of
tying
its
into
kind.
that.
Yeah.
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 So,
Well,
And that's
and
something that's not like for this doctor only. That's been something part of
no,
at least since New Who and
Mm.
even classic Who. The
I
doctor
think we
just
talked
doesn't go
about
in
it.
and look at and want to kill things.
I think we talked about a couple weeks ago, how the doctor always gives the villain a chance before, he goes, okay, you had your chance, to walk away from this and everything. So,
Yeah,
and
but
so it
that
was,
that's not what's
Yeah.
happening here.
no, no,
Like
no,
he's
no,
just
not at all. But
recognizing that
uh,
he's trying to see things from other points of view, and he brings that. I mean, even when we were reviewing The Creature in the Pit, right? I mean, that's the same thing, almost the same thing, except not phallic. And
touche, touche.
it's a monster that is misunderstood, that they think is evil and want to just destroy, and the doctor bonds with it right away and wants to save it, and that kind of thing. So that's just like, that's nothing new here. But for those people who don't know, for people who are just joining us, like, that's an important thing that you should know about the doctor. So I think that that's cool and I mean, granted, it's a Russell T thing, it's a gross thing, but I mean, you can't, especially for kids, you can't say it much simpler than that. Like, oh, snot is gross. Snot is
It
probably one
is.
of the grossest things on the planet. So yes, let's take the grossest thing, and if you want to save that, then you must really be something.
well,
You
it
must
and
goes.
really be understanding.
and I was gonna say, to be fair, I mean, he didn't ask to be brought into existence. He's not really a villain. He just got created because the ship was gone wonky and didn't know what to do with snotty tissue because of the education software. And so he just sort of got created, and he's probably wandering around down there going, why am I here? What am I doing? And that's why he's so angry and mad, because he has no
He's
idea what's going
alone.
on.
Yeah.
He's alone. There's nobody down there. Everybody's scared of him. And he, you know, may just want to come play. I don't know. So,
can you imagine the internet explosion of brains if the last scene was the snot monster like curled up in a corner like a puppy with the babies, like with one of them just sitting there and petting him
Ew.
Yeah,
I
petting him
would
in his
love
hands,
it.
slobbing into it.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
love it.
that-
That would have been
Yeah.
gross,
That
but
would have
awesome.
been that would have been a
Oh,
great
it would have been
ending.
totally opposite, but the result would have been just on people.
Yeah.
It'd be even better.
Yes, exactly. It was interesting, and I enjoyed the episode. Is it the best episode ever? No, not by any means, but it was a fun romp. And, it's going to be one of those, that'll be like, oh, have you watched it a second or a third or fourth time? No, but it was fun and everything. And, you know, it was Doctor Who back, which was great and everything. It was interesting though. Let's go back to the beginning of the episode when he took Ruby back with the dinosaurs and everything. The CGI in this, the effects, oh my God, this is so much better,
Disney money.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Disney
Yeah.
and Sony
Yeah.
money, truthfully,
Yeah.
that they have for both. And they actually have a budget. And it was just amazing to see the dinosaurs. And it was just like they just weren't using a clip from Jurassic Park, which is wonderful, or if you
because
want to
Disney
go
doesn't
for
own that yet.
exactly.
But I think that shot probably cost more than the entire budget of Russell T Davies' initial run.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm
Probably.
sure.
I wouldn't
Sure.
doubt that. No, I have no doubt about that one. And it's
Oh,
interesting
Plastic Mickey
too.
cost a fortune.
Yeah. Well, it's funny though, because I was talking to Mike Faulkner about it, and we were talking about the effects and everything. And he said like the hackles on the back of his neck when the TARDIS came into Ruby's mother's house and took out the whole ceiling and everything. But it was awesome how the TARDIS now just doesn't materialize. It comes, you could see it, going through the walls and everything. And it's
Yeah.
just pretty cool. I noticed it the first time I saw that was in the short they did with David's Doctor and going with the Daleks
Mhm.
and everything, and how
And
the
meeting up
TARDIS
with
just
Davros.
crushes it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Skateboarding through.
exactly.
The opening credit sequence with the TARDIS flying through space is just
Oh, it's
gorgeous.
gorgeous.
They
It's so
they tightened that up
beautiful.
big time, even from the Christmas special,
Yeah.
and it didn't feel like it was a PowerPoint presentation, like with the logo popping in and everything. They took the time, and my God, that logo is gorgeous. Because
Yeah.
it's like I was telling Judy, it's like that's my first logo. That was Tom's logo, and well, actually, it was Pertwee's first, but it was most well known for the beginning of the Tom Baker era, and it was just it was always my favorite logo that they ever did for Doctor
It's so, and with Murray's score, it's just like, Disney says, you want to skip the opening? I'm like, nope, I want to
No.
watch this opening. I'm going to always watch this opening.
Who. Mhm.
Do
And
not ask me to skip. How dare you?
The
Yeah.
theme song is so grand too, and just I love the TARDIS breaking through the clouds, and it's just awesome.
Yes.
And so, bravo,
Really-
guys, bravos.
It really pops in high def too. I mean, if you got a high
Oh,
def
God,
TV, it's a good way to really enjoy it in high def.
Oh, exactly. If you have 4K, folks, watch it. It is so worth watching in high dev, and I love it. It's just it's a new era, and I think we're in for a wild ride, in all truth and everything. One of the complaints, I saw people going, I didn't know the Doctor could bring creatures back to life and everything, and the whole thing with the butterfly. And we saw the Doctor do that before, using
Yeah.
basically his regeneration power he healed River's wrist in The Angels Take Manhattan, because River broke her wrist getting out of the handcuffs
Right.
in that episode, and the Doctor healed her with it. It was basically the same thing. He just used regeneration. We just didn't. What would have made it a little better is if they would have showed like the regeneration glow around the butterfly or something,
but
just to
I'm
make a little
wondering
more
if
sense.
there's a reason for that. In that, because I'm wondering if we're in some sort of like alternate reality or virtual reality.
I have
And
seen that theory.
Yeah.
That
Mhm.
the fact that this is that so far all of this has been really really fantastic for Doctor Who.
Mhm.
And one of the reasons for it being really fantastic is that we're not actually in a quote unquote reality. We're in some sort of construct or parallel or something
Or
else
at least
that,
some sort of altered reality.
yeah, some sort of altered
Mhm.
reality that might have been created with the from the Mavity gravity thing or something else. Like I think it's really still early to tell. And in some ways, I kind of hope that's not the case because I really like what's going on here, and I don't want them to pull it back and say, "Oh, that wasn't the real world," or that wasn't real. But yeah, I've seen that as well.
Well, it still says Mavity, because like when he opened up the window and they were looking on the new planet, and she's like, "Oh, they speak English." One of the things showed the Mavity of the planet. It said Mavity on
Oh.
there, but then he swiped through it and it became more like Cantonese type stuff. But they're still using Mavity. It has
Yes.
not
Yeah.
changed back to gravity.
No,
That
no,
also
they're sticking with that.
did
Yes.
you also notice speaking of Mavity, did you all notice the Susan Twist appearance in this
Mhm.
episode
Yes.
and
Yes.
everything? And so it's just like, so it's going to be like, where's Waldo? This is where Susan
Yeah,
Twist
where's
going to be
Susan
popping
Twist? Yeah.
in each episode. And that also leads, maybe she might be a big bad or something in like a Madame Kevorkian, type thing we had in the Matt Smith era. She's
Yeah.
looking in on the virtual reality where the Doctor and Ruby are being kept or something. And that's why she keeps on popping up.
I
Well,
mean,
the other thing,
we already know she's in Boom because she was in the trailer.
Yep.
the
Yeah.
And we
the
saw her in
the
the one we're going to talk about next too.
we've got obviously the things that have kind of come up since the Christmas special. Well, actually before that, which is The One Who Waits. So that The One Who Waits, the origin of Ruby, and all of that is it all going to be linked together? Probably. This is Russell T we're talking about, so probably like it's probably all linked together.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So how much of it is red herring material and how much of it actually is going to make sense after the whole thing is played out? I don't know, but it's fun to watch, I think, and see it
Oh,
as
very
long as it
much so.
doesn't interfere with the individual stories, which it so far hasn't gotten in the way.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. But,
And maybe it
Bad Wolf was just, a little spray painted thing on the TARDIS at first. So,
Yeah.
and maybe it's just a holodeck program because they're with the nod to Star Trek. They need to go visit them
oh
one
my
day.
God.
I
Yes.
forgot about the nod to Star Trek.
Yeah.
Oh,
the
that
Ginny
was
Just a
desperately wanted
holodeck.
to do a crossover at the
You're just
beginning.
gonna walk out
Yeah.
onto the Enterprise.
Oh, that was awesome. We'll go visit them sometime. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh my God, they're in the same universe. Ah!
Well, the Doctor Who's mentioned Star Trek before, but in some ways I mean, then when it mentioned it before, it was not. And actually, if you follow the comics, they've actually teamed up before. There's
Oh, yeah,
there's
the
actually
comics,
been a
there's a
Doctor
whole
Who Star Trek
crossover
comic.
series.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was
so-
an awesome series for the first couple issues. Then it went.
So, but I don't know, that also adds to the theory that Mary was talking about too, that if Doctor Who now is in the same sort of realm as Star Trek, then maybe it's this sort of fictional alternate realm.
Mhm.
And who knows? I mean, look, anybody hoping for a live action Star Trek Doctor Who crossover officially, I just don't think that's ever going to happen. Not just because Paramount, unless somebody buys Paramount that's willing to work with Disney, or unless Disney buys Paramount.
Well, Disney's
Because
looking into buying Paramount, so it could
because
actually happen.
otherwise Paramount is just too dumb to work with anybody. I mean, I don't trust Paramount the way they run things anyway, so I just don't think that's ever likely to happen as long as Paramount is running Star Trek.
Hear me out. The One Who Waits is John Delancey.
That would be frippin' awesome. But it was interesting because if you remember when we did the review of the Giggle, we even said it. The One Who Waits, the toy maker even feared whoever that was.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so
Yeah.
it was just interesting to see And they also said something, a couple different times, they were just hinting at, something big out there. So it's going to be very curious to see what happens. So any final thoughts before we go ahead and rate this one?
Just one thing I wanted to bring up back to the beginning of it. This is the second time we've seen something that had been reset when they basically the TARDIS reinvented itself. We had the HADs that got turned back on in Wild Blue Yonder. Now we see he mentioned something called a butterfly compensation switch. Basically, I guess to prevent some kind of paradox from being formed by stepping on a butterfly. Apparently that switch had been turned off, and that's why that happened like it did. So I don't know if that's going to be kind of a recurring thing or not, that things have to be reset on the TARDIS that he'd already basically altered throughout the years.
Oh yeah, of course. It's like, yep, we got to remember to keep that switch on. Oops. Basically.
Going back to the nanny character.
Yes.
I did appreciate what I thought was a good thing about this episode is that the secondary character of Nanny, it is not just a black and white superficial character. She actually is kind of a complicated character in the sense that, I mean, you could question her decision making as far as she didn't want to appear to the babies because she didn't want to see them die. She didn't want them to see her die, which I would say was actually not a good reason to not appear in human form to the babies, but okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And also
I definitely think we all need nanny filters in our life.
Yes, the nanny filter was great. That was awesome. Yes. And also the whole thing about, I mean, it's actually quite realistic that she would want to kill the monster because she doesn't understand what's going on and what the origin is. That's just a threat to her, to the babies. And so, and the fact that she is forgiven by almost immediately by Millie Gibson's character Ruby, she's very sympathetic to her. I thought that was a really nice moment.
Very much so. I agree with that completely. All right, let's go ahead. Rate 1 out of 5 TARDISes, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. All right, let's Elaine go first this time.
3 out of 5.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Any explanation or just because?
Nope, that's it. Yep, that's what came out.
Okay. All right, Dave.
3.5.
Okay.
It's pushing. It honestly is pushing into 4, but 3.5.
Okay. Matt.
I came in planning to do 2, but after talking it out and realizing a few other things I kind of liked, I think I'm going to bump it up to 2.5. Again, the premise of the space babies, substandard CGI in their faces, which is a hard thing to pull off even in this day and age, to be fair. I really think it was quite forgettable, but the interactions between the Doctor and Ruby pulled it out, made it very watchable, put a smile on my face, and that's not a bad thing in any episode if you're watching it with a smile on your face. So I'll be generous and give it a 2.5.
Okay, Mr. Mike.
I'm going to go 3.5. Like Dave, I think it's actually probably more like 3.75 or 3.75 or like it's approaching 4, and it is possible that rewatching this a few times or once things play out for the rest of the season, it could even get higher to me, because I did like there's a lot that is going on here, and it just looks it appears so simple, but every time I think more about it, I'm like, wow, that's really kind of clever. That's really kind of cool. Like it connects in a ways that I think I'll appreciate even more later.
Okay. Mary.
I'm going to go 3.5. It's actually one of those episodes where when I think back on it, I see things that I didn't necessarily see upon my first watching, some depth going on underneath there. And also I remember I was nitpicking it to my sister and she turned to me and said, okay, quick choose. Any Chris Chibnall episode or Space Babies? And I immediately said, Space Babies!
Wow. How long?
All right,
This
who
has got to
had
be a new record for us.
42 minutes into our
Yeah.
first chibnall
This has got to
bash.
be
That's,
this has got to be
That
a
was
new
pretty
record for
good.
us for
That's pretty
Gymno
good for
bashing. Usually we don't even last like 10 minutes without Gymno bashing. But
that's pretty awesome.
I'm
All
just
right,
glad that those days are long behind us.
okay,
Yay.
I'm gonna do. God, I hate agreeing with you guys. A 3.5, because I was gonna do also 375, but I'm gonna do 3.5. But I'm going to put a caveat saying I'm willing to change it once we get to the end of the season and see what what other little things we missed in this episode, because I am sure there's stuff that we missed. Little little, what do they call Easter eggs and such. So, but definitely we'd love to hear from you guys at home. What did you guys think of this episode? Feedback at earthstationwho.com is always the best way to let us know what you guys think. And folks, I've been looking all over the internet, and it's all over the place. And, it's just craziness and everything. So I hope you had fun with this one. We're going to take a quick break, and then we are going to be back with the Devil's Chord. See you in a sec. All right. YouTube people, we're not going to do anything special. I want to get to, we have 2 episodes tonight.
And now
so-
for our musical episode.
Exactly. Now for the musical.
Now we're gonna sing.
Hey, I thought you were
Now
going to
we're
say
all
a
gonna-
musical number, and I'm like, I'm not ready for a musical
I
number. No.
know. No twist
I'm always
for
ready
us.
for a musical number.
Music time.
No,
Hey. Apparently, music numbers are not welcome in Doctor Who.
Oh, I thought it was brilliant. Oh,
They have
All
them in Star Trek. They can have them in Doctor Who. Sorry.
yes.
They've had them in almost everything at this point.
Yep.
What does it matter?
Yeah. Come on, we've got to thank Buffy first. Come on. So we're back. And now it is time to talk about The Devil's Chord, written by Russell T. Davies. And that's the one thing I noticed in the first episode. They didn't have an opening segment. They just played the theme coming into the first episode, where here we started in 1925 at a piano. And my God, that was such a great scene when we got introduced to the Maestro. And wow. I loved it. Knocking on the piano. Boom, boom, boom. Is this a joke? I loved it. And it was just real interesting. There was, right from the very beginning, this episode was different than what I was even expecting. And,
And let's face it, Mike, expectations on this one were really, really, really high.
oh, very much so.
I mean,
very,
really
very
high.
much so.
I mean, I don't think out of all the episodes that people kind of were heard about, I think this was the episode that people were really kind of just focused on because it has the Beatles in it, and so that's pretty big. That's a pretty big weight to carry. So a lot of the reaction I found from people online, negative or positive, really was so centered around that. The fact that how they treated the Beatles, whether this was going to be what this was going to be, and how this was it's going to play out. And so it is kind of a different take on it. And I think I don't know. I'll be curious to see what other people think. But I enjoyed this episode a lot too.
Awesome. Let's get initial thoughts for this one. We got Jinx Monsoon as the Maestro. We had the Beatles. We got to 1963, and there was just so much going on in this one, and so many. There's cameos in this one that it's like, oh wait, was that Murray Gold? Oh my God,
Yes.
you got other people too. It was just awesome to see. So let's go around. Mike, I'll start with you. Your initial thoughts.
Well, as I said, overall, I enjoyed it very much. It was very different than I didn't know how this was going to play out. but already saw, once they released the picture of the people that they cast as John and Paul and George and Ringo and everybody, and all of a sudden, man, the hate started to flow. And I was like, oh boy, this is going to be kind of rough. And I was like, look, I mean, go back and just sticking with Russell T's resume on Doctor Who on his history episodes, you go back and look and you see, he's done Charles Dickens I'm drawing a blank now, but I mean, he's done several, he just did Sir Isaac Newton, and it's like, those didn't look exactly like those really historic figures. Why would you think these would? Like this is, but I understand that the Beatles, especially Beatles fans, have a, very much, they're very protective of the Fab Four, and that's understandable. To me, and I think I think the Beatles and the Beatles characters were treated pretty well. But to me, the winner of this entire episode is Maestro.
Of course. No, without a doubt, sir.
This is, I love the fact that, I think, I think Jinx Monsoon got one note, and that was, Neil Patrick Harris played the Celestial Toymaker, and you are a being like that. And so Jinx was like, well, I have to be as over the top as Neil Patrick Harris, so I'm going to be as flamboyant and as over the top as that. And she brought it, in a way that is just warmed my heart to see, and it was so amazing. And her and Ncuti had so much chemistry. I loved the scenes with them together, like going after each other. I just thought it was a great combination, and that to me was the crux of the episode. And I think in that level, this episode worked for me. And then, and then we can talk about the song at the end, which I enjoyed, but I know a lot of people didn't, because some people just don't like to have fun.
Nope, exactly.
But this is I was saying before about how this is a doctor that hugs. This is a doctor that opens up to people. This is a doctor. This is different, right? Well, this is a doctor. Get used to it, people. This is a doctor that sings and dances. He's got a jukebox in the TARDIS right next to him. Like, this is a doctor that likes to rave, like that goes like out dancing. Like this is that doctor. So if you don't like a doctor that sings and dances, and you don't want that in your doctor, you better go back and watch some other classic Who, because that's what this doctor's going to do. And I love it. I love it.
Exactly. Go back and watch Colin Baker. You'll enjoy it. That would be good.
Yeah.
So it's perfect.
Did he sing? No, I don't think so.
No, that's
nobody ever said. Nobody said, man, I wish Colin Baker had done a musical episode.
Well, exactly. That's the doctor that tried to strangle his companion. So there you go.
Seems
He
like
was
he's
singing
gonna-
while he was doing it.
Elaine, what's your initial thoughts?
I really like this episode. I am a huge fan of Jinx Monsoon, ever since her appearance on Drag Race in season 5. And so I have been following her since then. So I was really excited that she was going to be on. And listening and thinking about the whole episode just now, yes, it was nice that the Beatles were in it, but you almost could have the episode without the Beatles. But you wouldn't necessarily have to have had it in 1963, because it's really more about Maestro taking away everybody's music, not just Beatles. And
Right.
also sitting here thinking, I thought that who they cast for the Beatles, they looked kind of plain. And maybe there was a reason for that, because they had no music. They had no whatever to make them who they are. And so maybe that was sort of manifested in how they look. Because
Oh, very much so.
they don't,
The only way
they
I
don't
even
have the
know-
music.
The only way I even knew it was John Lennon was he had glasses.
Yeah. And
Which
so
he didn't at that point.
No, he did, but he didn't wear them in
but
public.
not the.
No,
yeah.
he didn't wear them
Oh.
in public.
and
that
so but yes, this was a good episode.
Okay, Matt.
Well, the first thing that struck me is it was structured very similar to the beginning of The Giggle. The way they kind of set everything up, had a past incident which set everything in motion. And And then when they got into 1963, when they went and got dressed, my God, they looked fabulous. Those outfits. I still I told Elaine, I said, Millie just looks amazing. And of course Shooty does, but Shooty always looks amazing. So that's it. I love the period costumes. I was a little struck by how much they did not look like the Beatles with the pictures. I might have been one of those people that that Mike Gordon referred to reacted negatively. But I'm with Elaine. I think that as you got into the story, the more jarring thing was their music was bland and uninteresting like everybody else's music. And that was the point. The Beatles were not allowed to be the Beatles. Music wasn't allowed to be the music. So I thought that was a fascinating and unique kind of story to pursue. So the setup, I thought, was really great. I love the setting. I love the costumes. And it really started off strong for me.
No, understand that completely.
Matt,
What about you, Dave?
you said that, sorry, just real quick, I wanted to bounce on something that Matt said.
Sure.
Because he said that both, it started like the giggle does. And yeah, I only afterwards did I realize, I think I read someone who posted this, that both the giggle and this one start in 1925.
Yep. Same year.
Which is probably not a coincidence.
Probably not.
Not at all.
No.
I thought the same. I thought the same thing.
I didn't
All
even
right,
think
Dave.
about that.
What about you?
Similar comments to everyone else. I did have a thought that there was all a giant fury over Isaac Newton and the casting there, and now this casting of the Beatles. Is that also RTD trying to troll us, or does he have something like set up, not troll us, but something set up there that we're not seeing? Is there a reason why these historic characters are as different as they might be?
Well,
Who knows? Maybe
the
it's
Beatles
RTD. We're reading
lookalikes
into
were
it.
at a birthday party that weekend or something.
Something.
Who
I
knows?
don't know. Who knows? Exactly. Like it could be anything. But no, I was, the Beatles were there. I did love that spoiler. It was John and Paul that basically finished
Saved the
off
day. Yeah.
Maestro. They saved the day. That was
Finished the chord.
I loved that. Yep.
Well,
Yeah, I like that too.
because even the doctor said he's not a genius.
Yeah.
John Lennon and Paul McCartney were geniuses.
Yeah.
Or are Paul's still around? So,
Yeah.
but they're musical
And I like that
geniuses.
they did it together.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
That was a really great moment. At first, I thought it was just going to be John, and I was like, "Oh!" but then Paul shows up, and I'm like, "Oh, it's going to be them together."
And once again, George gets the shaft, of course.
And poor Ringo.
They don't even talk about Ringo. Then
they don't even talk about Ringo. So it's cool.
So that was great. Murray Gold blew it out of the park in this episode.
Yes.
He's always good, but I loved how going into the theme they had Jinx Monsoon, the Maestro, playing
on the piano.
keyboard.
Oh, that was awesome.
And that transitioned into the theme, and then transitioning out of it
into the jukebox.
Yes.
To the jukebox.
Awesome.
That was
Yes.
awesome.
That was just so much fun. It was a fun episode. That's what made it really good. This episode, how much the Space Babies was, it's cute and everything. This was fun. This all the way through. It was camp at its best. It was just so rich in so many different areas. And that's what I loved about it and everything. And I'll get my thoughts in a few minutes, but Mary, I want to hear from you.
I'll give you that because, I pretty much agree with what everybody's saying, but I'll give you the queer perspective, or at least my queer perspective on the episode. And how, God, it almost makes me want to cry because queer people grew up, especially my generation, grew up with so little representation. And to see a person like Jinx Monsoon on the screen is just makes my heart overflow. But also, there's a lot of depth to this episode because it is actually the reality of a queer life, because this is what any sort of marginalized group lives. They are told they can never be themselves. They are never allowed to express themselves. If you express yourself in any way, then it better be in the blandest, most establishment way possible, or you will get attacked. You may even get killed. And so to explore that in something like Doctor Who, with a performer like Jinx Monsoon, I mean, I loved it. I absolutely adored this episode. And yes, there are little things I can nitpick about it, but I think overall it was just such a fun episode, but also a powerful episode, but not a hit you over the head kind of way, you know.
Sure,
And
sure. No, that
so
totally makes
I
sense.
really appreciated that.
No, and the character was feared. You know, the character was scary, campy, funny, or horrific. There's just like
Fierce.
it was
I think
just
that's
awesome.
the word you're looking for.
Yeah, no, perfect. And that's what I loved about it and everything. It was neat. There were so many scenes in this that I was just eating up, and I saw so much into the whole thing with the music being taken away and everyone, you know, being all grayed out and everything. Right there, that's Yellow Submarine, folks, if you think about it. You know, when the Beatles go to Pepperland and the Blue Meanies have taken the music away from, you know, Pepperland, everyone is all washed out and everything. And you saw that. And then when Ruby started playing the piano on the rooftop, you saw her literally, you know, everyone, you know, was at the windows. They were starting to get color back into, they were smiling and everything. And then when the music stopped, they started crying and they went back into the gray. And it was just, it was literally, it was like, I saw that and I was like, that's Yellow Submarine right there, folks. Talk about an homage that's, you know, so not, you know, hidden. And that was, you know, pretty darn awesome.
And then to have them play on, or to have her play on the rooftop is such a Beatles thing. Like that we're
very
like,
much.
I mean, it's like
very
there's like
much so.
references on top of references on top of references here.
Oh, especially with Disney Plus just releasing Let It Be, you
I
know,
know, right?
which is pretty awesome. But it literally was off the rooftop, and it was neat to see, and I just loved it. And even they captured the feel of early 1960s London with the rooftops, with the smokestacks and everything. It was just beautiful, all the different scenes and everything. And I loved, you know, I loved the maestro coming out of the pianos. That was just awesome. You called. It was just awesome. And there was just so much to love about this one. And the details and such, you know, for when it wasn't Abbey Road Studios back then, you know. And I love that, you know, they didn't, the doctor was like, that's right, it wasn't, you know. And it was just great. It was, you know, that's like one of my homages that I want to make someday, is to go to the Abbey Road Studios to actually see the building, to see the famous crosswalk, and have pictures of me going across it. And I'll probably be barefoot like Paul was, but you know, it's okay. Even, you know, so, you know, it'll be a ton of fun to see. But I loved seeing the Doctor and Ruby going across it twice. So actually 3 times, because you got to see him play piano on it, like in big at the end.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that was totally big. I didn't love that part, but it was still cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it was
bye. All right.
Bye-bye. But there was just so many callbacks to the scene when they were on the roof, and when, you know, he's saying, I'm out there, you know, out that way. And Ruby was like, what do you mean? It's like, yeah, Trotter's Lane. And, you know, I'm there with my granddaughter, Susan. And this is the
that
most.
was a great moment.
That was,
yeah.
it was the most Susan has been brought up in the series in years. Wonder if that's foreshadowing. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
One of my theories.
I don't
think so, because I think this doctor's just open, just like the last episode. He was talking about how he was the last of the Time Lords and what happened. He's just telling people, like, we've all, all the other doctors, all the incarnations have been so mysterious and hidden and talking riddles when it comes to their past. This one's like, no, man, I'm just going to tell you. Like, just like, I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm not going to dwell
Well, it
on
was
it,
interesting
but
though.
I'm just like, I'm not going to shy away from who I was,
No,
because
no, no.
that's who
But it was
who made me
interesting
what I am
when he
now.
asked though, when Ruby asked what happened to your granddaughter, and he did the whole thing. All the Time Lords were destroyed, and blah blah blah. And he said she probably got caught up with that or whatever. And it's like, did she? Did she? So I just think it felt very heavy-handed, the whole thing with Susan a little bit. Like, watch the scene. But then again, I've been egg on my face most years of Doctor Who. So, I'm just hoping because, Carol
She's the one
Ford's
that's been waiting.
maybe.
He did say he'd be back,
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
which is there.
If the one who waits is Susan, I don't know how I will react to that.
Not too sure about that plot twist.
Yeah, I'm not saying they can't pull it off, but I just don't know if I'd want to see them go in that direction. But I'll see how it plays out. I'm not going to judge it before it happens. I know that's so. I know that's usually not the way the internet works, but I'm not gonna judge it before it happens. But yeah, I can't say that it's appealing to me. I'll say that.
I just had a thought. I wonder if they're not in some sort of alternate reality or virtual reality, if it's just that reality is becoming unstable. In other words, things are leaking in, the laws of physics are breaking down. And so that's why we're getting things like the snow and people suddenly breaking out in song and dance and things like that. That would be an interesting thing to explore.
Possibly. Well, it was interesting, the whole
fair.
thing, Chris, that, there's a song inside her soul. And it was interesting because, the Maestro was really taken back by that. He, she, them was not expecting that. And I found real interesting.
It does seem kind of also interesting that so far these beings, the Celestial Toymaker, the Maestro, have titles, much like Time Lords have titles. And there was that discussion between the Doctor and Ruby about how we don't have names so much as we have titles. And I do wonder if I certainly don't know if they're planning to merge like the beings that they are with Time Lords. I think that's a little too simplistic, but I mean, it is kind of interesting how they're making that parallel.
I mean,
Doctor's not a Time Lord.
Yeah, I mean, and especially if they're like proto Time Lords, it's almost like in Greek mythology where you have the Titans and then you have the pantheon of gods. Well, what if these are sort of like the Titans, which eventually leads to the Time Lords?
And what if the Doctor is a fallen Titan, a fallen one of those? Like he was up there with them, but he did something. I don't know.
Or maybe he could be a halfling or something, and that's why he was banished out of their realm. And that's when
he's adopted. Yeah.
The Gallifreyans found him and he was banished.
The only, if you'll pardon the pun, even if you don't screw it. But the only sort of bad note I felt with this chord was that when the Maestro first appeared and was coming out of the piano when they were on the roof and everything, and started to go after them, the Doctor was really scared, and it's not something that we see from the Doctor very often. And it didn't hit me. It didn't hit me with any gravitas the way I think it should have. And I don't know why. It just didn't work for me as much as like the rest of the
second episode in a row that the Doctor got very, very scared too. Because if you remember in the last episode when the boogeyman
but that was forced on him. Like that was not really him really being scared. Here he's really afraid. And I don't know, maybe it's because it's new to this particular incarnation, but I didn't quite I didn't quite buy it, or that he was terrified. And yeah, I don't know why, because usually it just seemed really weird to me. I don't know
It
if
was
anybody else
interesting
felt
because that was one of my notes on this, and said the last time the doctor fought one of those beings was the toy maker, and the last time it tore his soul in half.
right.
Is maybe the doctor half of what he was? Maybe he's not whole, and maybe 14 and 15 have to come back together to be a whole doctor. Maybe just an idea.
That darkness that he shed was a source of strength,
Right.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
as it
So-
often is in regular, in everybody. Trauma,
Yeah.
what doesn't kill you makes you
Exactly.
stronger.
Exactly.
I mean, then that would
Are we thinking
imply
too
that,
much into it? Of course.
well, yeah, but I mean that would imply that, David's doctor is darkness, is the dark side of the doctor, and I don't, that's the one that Donna's stuck with. Great job, but I don't.
But I don't know if it has to be that black and white. I mean, I don't know if they.
This is Russell T we're talking about.
I don't think we're doing Star Trek: The Enemy Within here. I don't think that's where we're going with this.
Touche.
But it is interesting as well. The next episode, Boom, is ripe with chance of a terrified doctor. The entire
Yes.
premise of
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah.
So, without spoiling it for people who might not have seen the previews of it,
I didn't see
so
that.
I really think it is very intentional
Yeah.
based on that.
Well,
No, it's-
and I think that Russell's and Nishudi has done a great job of like displaying like this is going to be a very more heart wears his heart on his sleeve doctor. Like if he feels things, we're going to see it. And he's not going to shy away from those feelings. If he's afraid, he's going to say he's afraid and he's going to act afraid. If he's angry, et cetera, et cetera. We haven't seen the rage that the doctor is capable of yet with this one, but I imagine that's a matter of time. But I so far, I do appreciate that, but it just didn't. I don't know. It just felt like a little weird to me for this. It worked with the fear. It worked in the last episode for me, but it just for some reason it didn't work for this one. Not that
Right.
when they actually encountered one another, it wasn't dynamic. And both of them were just amazing. Had amazing chemistry working together, like obviously in the scene together. But when he was running with her and going to the cellar and just sort of cowering in fear almost, I was like, wow, this is really bizarre. I don't
Mhm.
and yes, I know that they had just faced the toy maker, but it just I don't know, it just felt false to me. But
Let me put this to you, that maybe it's also weird to the doctor, because the doctor acknowledged that I don't run away.
yeah,
What's going
yeah,
on?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
something's going
So that-
on.
Yeah.
Something's
Yeah, so I think it's partially
making me feel
a
this
terror
way.
and confusion over the terror.
yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch
Yes.
this scene. Basically watch this because I
Yes.
think we'll get more explanation later on this.
it's
I know
possible.
we say that quite a bit, but we have hope.
It's RTD.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah, exactly. I loved how he used the sonic to block out the sound.
Mhm.
Oh, that
That
was such
was-
a beautiful scene when they took away
Yes,
the
it was.
sound. It was
Mhm.
so well done.
Mhm. That was pretty awesome. And just like the sound was gone, and that was just anything. And it's like, I've never seen the Sonic do something like that, but it makes sense. It's a sonic device
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
be able to do something. They're actually using it for what it's supposed so it was pretty awesome. And just there were so many beautiful scenes, but I loved how the maestro was using the tuning fork to help,
Mhm.
guide her. It was just awesome. It was really, really well done.
When
I
I
did find it. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say toward the end, like the final scene when she had Ruby all tied up with the music notes. I don't know if you noticed that toward the end of the episode, she had Maestro had like black lip liner inside, and it was almost because she'd been eating so many notes and taking so many notes out, like she had like newsprint on her lip kind of
Hmm.
I
thing.
did
It was an
notice
Jinx
that.
talks
Yes.
interesting,
about that.
yeah,
There's an interview with Jinx where she goes through and her 3 different looks
right,
as the Maestro, and it's like here they're doing this. Here there it was a much darker lipstick and much hollower eyes as well.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. I noticed that, and I was like, "That's interesting." I
Hmm.
really
Hmm.
like
And
that.
I love the music battle between the maestro and the doctor. That was just awesome with the piano and the fiddle. It was great.
Yeah, I was waiting for
Yeah.
Devil Went Down to Georgia when they went down
I was
But
too, actually.
it's still not
I
you
wrote
American.
know,
that down in my note. Devil went
I
down
think
to Georgia.
yeah, they were like, oh, we can only use non-trademark music, so
Well, they did Rhapsody in Blue, it was Gershwin, so it was pretty awesome. And, it was funny. A friend of mine, we were talking about it and we were like going, I bet you when Russell first came up with this idea, he was like thinking, it's going to be a Beatles episode. Wouldn't it be great if the Devil's Note was the first strum in Hard Day's Night by the Beatles? And then he looked and found out how much it was going to cost him to use
It's like,
to get the
no.
rights to it.
Yeah.
yep. He was like, oh, there goes that dinosaur scene from the first episode.
Another interesting Beatles maybe reference, maybe not. If you look at the costuming for Neil Patrick Harris with that pseudo marching band
Sergeant
slash
Pepper.
regal look, exactly same thing with
Mhm.
Jinx.
Exactly. I noticed that too. It's like, wait a minute.
So
I
is
don't
that
know
going to
if
be a
there's
thing? And then we're going to get more of the Pantheon. So are we going to get a random Sergeant Pepper's gag of some sort?
Mhm.
yeah, I'm guessing that we're going to get more from this Legion that's coming, right? But I'll tell you what, after the performance by Neil Patrick Harris and Jinx Monsoon, whoever is next up has their work cut out for them.
Oh,
Without a
big
It's going to
time.
go the opposite
Yeah.
direction. It's going to be terrifyingly dark.
Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, yeah, they're just amazing. Like this is sort of like, to me, watching this and watching the Doctor interact with Maestro here was just like Kirk and Khan. I mean, this is just great stuff. You don't see that very often, and I mean, as much as, and it's not because of it's just the lightning has to strike in order for stuff like this to happen. Everything has to go the way it does, and this is just amazing. So
Oh, very much so. And the chemistry between the two of them was fantastic.
I'm just so
And
glad that there was no the rumors were that the Maestro is going to be the Master is going to be the Maestro, and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm glad
I'm
that
glad they didn't do that. I
I
am
am
Right.
so
so
glad
glad
they didn't.
Well, yeah.
that didn't pan out.
And I
Yeah.
think if they had gone with any other performer, if they had gone with a traditional male or a traditional female performer in that part, that would have really fed more of the, oh, it's the Master, oh, it's Missy.
Mm.
But by having a
Mhm.
non-binary character and a non-binary performer makes that really reinforces that no, despite the fact that it's Maestro, and yes, that means Master, it's not the Master.
Right.
No,
No Master.
exactly. There's no master there, which is good. And
Mhm.
I loved it. I love did you guys love the callback to Pyramids of Mars in this?
Yes.
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 Mhm.
That was great.
That was just awesome.
There were tons of Easter eggs in these first 2
Mhm.
episodes.
Oh, very much so. It was just awesome. There was just so much to see, and I love the explanation because Ruby went, "How can this be 2024? I'm here." It's the same thing
Mhm.
Sarah said to the doctor,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
to the fourth doctor, and it was just like, because you're with me, literally, and it was just awesome to see that and the callback on that, and then the maestro walking out of the rubble was just like in that beautiful blue
Mhm.
dress. It was just like, oh, that was awesome. It was
Didn't love
just
the
great.
dress.
You didn't love the
Actually,
dress, huh?
I, in context of those three costumes and those three looks, it felt incongruous. It did not feel right. I loved it if it had been its own thing, maybe. But after the look that we had at the beginning and the look we had at the end, it didn't feel right
Mm-hmm.
to me. It was much more subtle. Now it was also a maestro that is more comfortable in their dominance of the universe. They didn't have to be dressed for battle.
Right.
No.
They were
Mhm.
dressed for I am regal, and that tracks. But
Yeah.
eh, I
Because
don't
yeah,
hate it,
because
but
well, exactly, because this was a future maestro.
mhm.
Because you're the one you met her in 1925, then 1963, and then in 2024. So there's huge gap in that era, and so it doesn't look like there's any humans left.
Yeah, she's not
Yeah.
really trying to impress anyone at that point.
No,
You know,
exactly.
I feel like she's
And probably
kind of
there hasn't been any
dressing
music for her to feed on,
right.
Mhm.
for them to feed on, for quite some time.
They
Quite
very
some
much
time.
called that out. Yeah, this is the last human with
Mhm.
any music in their soul.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I like the fact they established that they were not human. I mean, the Maestro was going on a linear timeline. Like the Maestro wasn't traveling back and forth in time like the Doctor was. So they were just trying to keep up with what the Doctor was doing in various time frames. I'm like, okay,
Right.
I've met you,
But
and I haven't,
Hey, that was you
so
back then, wasn't it?
exactly.
yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. And because that's a possible future, as they like to
Mhm.
say in Doctor Who,
Yeah.
because it isn't a fixed point in time, like Adric, type things. So
Well, and
It's
they
just an
may come
excuse.
back because the little boy, her son, the harbinger, he was at the end of the episode. He appeared in the doorway again, smiling at everything. So that kid who was the harbinger in 1925 appeared again in 1963.
mhm.
Mhm.
And like was he in the musical number? I don't know. I saw him in the doorway,
Yeah,
kind of smiling,
Yeah,
He
he
was,
was kind
yeah.
of peeking
look,
out. Yeah.
It
you
was like,
know,
it's like,
yeah,
so we might see Maestro again.
yeah.
I would not say no to that.
No, I think
I
I
would
think
I
that
would I would love that. Can't overdo it.
they've
That's a character that wouldn't get old, but would be again. But
Well,
also
it depends on how they do it too.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Mr. Mixoplex. You can't
Every
amazing
90
anytime you
days.
see it. Yeah.
yeah.
But other than that, no,
So,
I always love him.
So what
understandable.
are we? Did everyone like the musical number? Hate the musical number? Don't care about the musical number?
I loved it. I loved it. I
I
thought it
loved
was
it
great.
also.
I can't say I loved it because I thought it was okay. But I've seen a lot of hate for it online, and I don't think it's warranted at all.
No.
Yep.
That, and because it seems like it's just a fun thing they did at the end, just like the sort of the steps on the crosswalk and those being musical and everything like that. It's just like just these little fun touches that they're doing, which don't make any sense and bug the crap out of people who take Doctor Who really too seriously. They're like, we can't, we're not allowed to have like, no, that has to have a reason. Why is that? We can't do that. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. And it's like, no, we're just having fun. This is just a fun thing now. Like, I see, yeah, and it's just like, so I don't know if it's going to happen in every other episode or whatever, that the Doctor's going to break out into a musical number, but I'm for it if it does, because I just think it's fun. That's what this Doctor does.
Well, it's
No,
now been three out of basically four shooty episodes where we've had some form of over the top musical number. We had the Christmas episode, we had the giggle, and now we have this.
Mhm.
There's something there, almost certainly, because it all started with
Is there a
the
musical?
Toymaker.
Wait, am I missing something from the giggle? Oh,
I didn't
I'm sorry, with the giggle himself, like not
with
the
the-
doctor
with-
was involved. The
Yeah,
doctor
not
was
the doctor
involved with
himself,
that.
but
Right?
no,
Okay,
no.
gotcha.
But Neil
It's
Patrick
the,
Harris
the
had his
Spice,
big
Yeah,
giant
the
yeah,
Spice Girls
Spice Girls
number.
number.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that that's whether it's because it's a altered reality or not, musicals exist here now in Doctor
Yep.
Who. So that's and I don't have a problem with that. I think it's fun.
No, definitely not. It was interesting though. It was a lot. There was the singing I didn't mind though, and it was just like it reminded me something like out of Hard Day's Night or something out of, a a 60s
Yeah, it was
movie
in
type
keeping
thing.
with the Beatles
And that's what
movie,
it was.
actually.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it was just like I enjoyed it, and I wonder if there's some clues in the lyrics to this music of, what's to come in some ways.
Yeah.
Well, he does say there's always a twist at the end, and then you've got the
Yeah.
whole Susan twist thing.
Mhm.
Yep.
So,
Which
So
is possible.
I mean, it could just be a red herring. Who knows? But
mhm. So
I also like
Or
too
an
that,
opportunity to take a gag at himself.
yeah,
I also
I mean,
like
who knows?
that the old woman that they kept showing when they were playing on the roof was played by Laura June Hudson, which was costume designer for the BBC, and she worked with classic Doctor Who. In fact, I think she's the one who gave Tom the scarf, if I'm not mistaken, originally back in the 70s. And I just love it that when Doctor Who kind of acknowledges their past like that. Like it's just an
Mhm.
understated way. It's not heavy-handed. It's not like it doesn't mean anything really. It's just kind of cool to sort of spotlight someone who is a big part of the franchise for all those years. And that
yeah.
doesn't usually, costume designers usually don't get this kind of don't get credit. Like
But it
so
was
I mean,
and it
granted, she
was great
wasn't
it was
like,
great to see her, in there.
yeah,
It's
it's
just
just kind
like
of a nice little touch. It's like, oh, you wonder who that woman was. Oh, wow,
and,
she did the scarf. Like she's done a lot of stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of cool. I like that.
mhm.
And
It was
also, the
pretty
guy at the
awesome.
beginning is the son of a man who did music for Doctor Who back in the 80s.
That's
Yep.
right. That's right. Yes.
So
So, so
and
we're
then
still celebrating the 60th in some ways.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, you also had Murray in this episode.
Yep.
You
Yes,
had,
True.
Murray.
Yep.
and so, you blinked and you missed him, but it was definitely Murray Gold. So it
Well,
was
and
pretty awesome.
June has been on a number of the behind the sofa special features on some of the DVDs, and so I knew who she was when I saw her. I was like, she normally is much more colorful, dressed like with bright red lipstick, but she's loved talking about the old episode that she worked on the behind the sofa bits. So it was nice to see her. I hated that she had to get killed. Didn't like that part. At least
Yeah.
the maestro closed the curtain so we wouldn't have to move the curtains on her. We didn't have to see it.
But come on, it's like, hey, I'm in a Doctor Who. Like, oh, you have a cameo? No, I get killed. Like, isn't that cool?
Even better. Those are the best
I got
cameos in
killed
the
by the
world.
maestro. Isn't that
Yeah.
awesome? Like, I'd be like, please.
It was awesome to see.
Yeah.
It was a fun episode, and I am looking forward to seeing what's next. And obviously, next is Stephen Moffat's return. So that'd be
Cool.
very cool. Any final thoughts before we go ahead and review and rate this one?
Well, we got uh Anita Dobson's in this one too, right?
Yes,
Yeah, she's in the cafeteria.
she's the tea lady in the
Yeah,
cafeteria.
Yeah.
yeah, not yeah. She's the yeah. So so yeah, that's interesting because yeah, she's the same age as she is in the present time
Mhm.
in the 60s. So what's that about? So yeah, we're adding to that sort of mythology of this season.
Mhm.
It
Well,
was
it's
Susan
like,
And
Twist. It wasn't Anita
the
Dobson.
Doctor and Ruby do not recognize.
what do you mean, Susan Twist, Miss Twist? Or-
No, it was Susan
nope.
Twist who was the tea lady.
Yeah.
yeah, Susan Twist was the
Not-
tea lady.
Yeah, not Mrs. Flood. Anita
Oh,
Dobson.
sorry.
Yeah.
So
You're like,
so
wait,
yeah,
she was in there too?
I was like,
there's
wait,
that.
I don't remember seeing her.
Sorry, I got them confused. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there is that.
Which mysterious old lady is this now?
There's so many of them.
Mhm, exactly.
So it is kind of interesting to see how that,
Mhm.
but yeah, they weren't recognized, neither one of them recognized her or said did any that. So, but everybody who's watching goes like, oh yeah, she's familiar,
Exactly.
even though I got it
Exactly.
wrong.
But
That's okay.
shout out to costume design and production design. I mean, they are
Yeah.
doing such a great job on both these
Oh,
episodes.
the costumes were great in this episode.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
looks so good.
Oh, how
Mhm.
fun was it when the Doctor and Ruby are like, oh, we can't go out dressed like this. So then they go up and then they come back out and then they're just like jamming in their new like 60s gear and the
Oh, I
Doctor's
love
sporting
that.
this beautiful fro, like it's just the 60s fro, and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. This is
Yeah.
amazing.
We got costumes, we got wigs. It's awesome.
This is so good.
It
It
was
has to
it
be
was
noted
great.
that the Doctor's suit would not have existed in 63. That style didn't come for a few more years.
Right.
But it still looked amazing, so who cares?
Who cares?
Exactly.
Yeah.
He starts
So-
a trend.
Exactly.
Yeah. He started the Peacock Revolution. There you go.
I'm sorry, are you saying the Doctor's a little ahead of his time?
How about that? All right. 1 out of 5 TARDISes, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. You know who I'm going to let go first? Dave.
4.5.
4.5. Okay. Mary?
Oh boy, I think I might have to give this one a 5, and I don't usually give 5s, but oh my God, I love this episode so much. Yeah, there's little nitpicky things, but I just don't even care.
Mhm.
I think it deserves a 5. And also, back in a crazy theory territory while I'm thinking about it. If you consider the pantheon of gods sort of like the Titans, sort of proto Time Lords, and then you consider the Time Lords, and then you consider the Doctor, if we're going to unfortunately keep following timeless child theory, as the connection between the Titans and the Time Lords. Well, the whole eating babies thing, that is foreshadowing because that is part of Greek mythology. The Titan
very much
Cronus
so.
ate
Yep.
his children. They're rescued
true.
and they become the gods. But yeah, I thought that could be an interesting tie-in depending on where Russell T goes.
Especially because it's Kronos.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, exactly. Elaine.
I am going to go with a 4.5.
Okay.
And that I did because my brain, you see I'm wearing a shirt that says something about the monkeys on it. There were 2 things in this episode that my brain went to the monkeys, not the Beatles. Because the building said EMI, and there's a song from the Monkees, Randy Scouse Get, talking about the 4 kings of EMI sitting stately on the floor. And so both times we watched that went through my head. And then the song that they sang about the dog, Beatles sang about the dog. Monkeys have a much better song about the dog that is the greatest song they've ever done, but it's still a better song than that one.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
Okay. Mr. Mike.
I am also going to go 4.5. Yes, this one is really amazing. And for all the reasons that we discussed, Jinx gets a 10 out of 5.
Obviously.
Because he dialed it up to 11.
But he's still only giving her a 10.
That's yeah, well, but I have to say, even though people were kind of harsh on the casting of John and the rest of the Beatles, I do think Ed White nailed George Martin pretty well.
He was awesome as George Martin.
Yeah,
He looked just
he
like
was
him.
really good. Yeah.
I had no problem identifying that's George Martin. That was cool. But the rest of it, and yes, this opens up a whole bunch of stuff, but this is one that the rewatch factor on this one is just like off the scale, because you could and I look forward to watching it more and more and more often, and finding new stuff in it and finding deeper things, and watching Jinx's performance and finding nuances there like that. This is amazing. So I think this was a home run in a lot of ways. I mean, it's just shy of a 5 for me, but still pretty close, and it's a home run, and it's the best one that I think that they've done since they've come back.
Awesome. Mr.
So I don't
Matt,
get all the people bitching.
ready, Maddie?
Yeah, 4 out of 5. I do think at the very end, not necessarily the musical number, but the big scene on an Abbey Road where they actually played notes might have been a little bigger break from reality than I was comfortable with, if I'm being honest. So, but it answered. But so far during the RTD part 2, he's had 6 episodes now, and 5 out of 6 I thought were really, really strong episodes. So, there's a lot of negativity out there. I certainly don't want to feed that with my nitpicks. So it's much more positive on this, and I enjoyed. There were more elements that I enjoyed here than I did in Space Baby. So 4 feels about right for me.
Okay. No, that's totally fair. I'm going to do a 4.99999999999. Yeah, the only thing that, even brought it down, truthfully, was, the actors didn't look like the Beatles, but I threw that out a long time ago. I got over that real quick, and I enjoyed the episode. I enjoyed all the different storylines. And, we've been talking about the different effects, the different stories and everything. When you saw the Maestro in the reflections in the kitchen, in the dining room or whatever, the cafeteria, and you saw the reflection on John's glasses, on on the spoon, on the napkin dispenser, it was just like, oh, that is just beautiful. And it was just so well done. And I enjoyed this. This is going to be one I'm going to rewatch over and over again. And just because it's a fun episode, but it's like an onion, and not a glass onion, but an onion that has many layers. And it's pretty amazing, all the different layers that's there. And we're probably going to come back at the end of the season with this one and say, my God, we missed this. That's what it meant when there's a song inside of her, or, that's the snow is coming. And, it all deals with Christmas and everything. And so there's just so much there. And, I am shocked by all the bitching and moaning we're hearing with this. And I wish we weren't hearing it, because I expected more than that. But haters are going to hate no matter what. And, it's not going to go, you're not going to go back to the David Tennant era. You're not going to go back to the Tom Baker era. This is a whole new generation of Doctor Who folks. This is, just
I think this is
have fun with it.
This is more different of a Doctor than it's ever been. Maybe
even with
since
a female doctor and everything, this is
yeah,
completely
absolutely
different.
Yeah. Oh man, I think that was one of my biggest criticisms. Have we bashed Chibnall yet this time?
Mm-hmm.
Not this episode, this part of the episode. No.
It's about time.
Because my biggest criticism of Chibnall was that he didn't go far enough. And my biggest hope for Russell T when he returned was that he would just go all out. And I'm so glad he has. And it doesn't surprise me that he's alienated some people for doing that. Some of the people that he's alienated, I'm surprised by when I look online, and some of the people that, but this is as different as Doctor Who's ever been. And I'm as excited. I'm more excited for Doctor Who than I've been in a long time because of it.
Yeah,
And
agreed.
not everything is perfect. I'm not saying that, but I am saying it's ambitious, it's adventurous, it's relevant, and it's just exciting now, because I honestly don't know what I'm going to get week from this
No,
show.
you
now.
don't. And that's what I love about it.
That's awesome.
You don't know where it's going.
That's an amazing thing. But I trust that it's going to be good and interesting and fun. And I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, what more can I want from a show? What more can I want from Doctor Who than that?
Oh my God. He Who Waits, it's Elton. It has to be.
Oh, that would be amazing. I don't care what the character is, but that would be amazing.
Well, that would be awesome. Elton John. Oh my God. So, but folks, definitely, this has been great to talk to you guys and talking especially about New Who. It's been so long, since we've had, a full series. We had the specials, which are great. And then we had the Christmas special, not that far behind it. So that's pretty awesome. But you're with us for the next 7 weeks. Every week we'll be back. And, we'll be rotating out folks. And you know what? Then we'll do the series wrap up and we'll go, remember when we talked about this and we thought it was this way? Oh boy, were we wrong.
Yeah, we're always wrong.
Oh, of course we are. It should be Earth Station Who, the wrong Doctor Who podcast. So, because we always are wrong and everything. But folks, thank you guys for joining. Thanks for listening. And you know what, folks who've been joining us in the Facebook group, we're now, of course, up on Instagram. We have a YouTube channel, and this video will be up there. So definitely check for us. We definitely would love, you guys to participate, be involved. That's what, talking about Doctor Who is great. We actually had people writing us. It's like, when are you guys going to be talking about the new episodes of Doctor Who? I want to know when this is out and everything. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We do appreciate it more than you could ever guess. So let's thank our regulars for being here tonight. Let's, of course, thank Mr. Mike Gordon. Thank you, sir.
As always, it's my pleasure.
And Ms. Mary Ogle.
Oh, thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking with you guys. I was so excited to talk with everybody about it.
Oh,
It's
I
so
almost
great to
called
have
you guys on
you.
Saturday. Like, what did you guys think? But I knew Mike was at FrancaCon, so it was just like, yeah, all right, I'll just call Mary. No. But it's awesome. And I want to thank our guests for being here. Elaine, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You want to promote your podcast?
Yes, I do. I am on a podcast called Monkeying Around, podcast about the monkeys.
Okay, not the other Fab Four. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, the prefab four.
The prefab four, as they like to call
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
So it's awesome. And Matt, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I had a blast tonight talking about New Who.
Exactly. I would say, you don't have a podcast, so what do you have to promote? Just yourself.
Yeah,
Exactly.
well, I support Elaine with her podcast, and I'll promote hers.
Okay, Monkeying Around. Find it. Part of the ESO network.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And Dave, thank you as always, my friend.
it's always amazing to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a blast. Want to promote your stuff real quick?
Please. So you can always find me at therathole.ca for all my board gaming and tabletop gaming reviews. I've got a Doctor Who role-playing game review coming out in the foreseeable future. As well, I'm doing live watch parties of all of these new episodes with The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS on Fridays as it's live, so you can look them up and join us, have a conversation as the show is going in the chat. And the five of you as well, please come.
We might show up there, but I'm usually busy on a Friday night to go do stuff. I have a life, so it's pretty cool. Until then, folks, if you like this and you made it this far, please like and subscribe. We would really appreciate it. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. And you know what? We will see you guys next week. Be well, live long and prosper. And remember, enjoy us for the cosmic joyride, as we like to say. Peace, and we are done.
You have been listening to Earth Station Who, a pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talents from throughout space and time. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individuals and are to be used for entertainment value alone. You can subscribe to our show wherever fine podcasts are found, or check out our website, earthstationwho.com. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook or Instagram, and if you enjoyed the show, please write to us at feedback@earthstationwho.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you on the next journey of Earth Station Who.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.